The kinetic chain. What is it and why do you need to understand it to improve your game? Well, the kinetic chain is a coordinated activation of the different segments of the body. The legs, the hips, the core, the arms, and ultimately your hand. And this activation begins from the ground up, meaning your feet are reacting against the ground to transfer energy all the way from the bottom to the top in order to accelerate the racket and to hit the ball at the end. But here are more facts that also relate to the kinetic chain. Number one, we're made out of parts, and those parts are connected, therefore the term chain. Keep that in mind. All these parts are connected, and mechanically they work as a chain that is made out of links, whether you help them work like that or not. So your legs are connected to your hips are connected to the upper body connected to your arm is connected to your hand. The next fact is that we're transferring energy, which means we're moving it, not keeping it. Moving it, not keeping it. This fact is going to become extremely important later in the video when we talk about injuries, loss of power, and lack of accuracy. And the last fact is that we're dealing with two forces, linear momentum and rotational momentum, which means that ideally the body is going to channel that linear momentum of the backswing into the angular momentum of the rotation of your hips, shoulder, arms, and hand in a ground stroke. There's also a kinetic chain on the serve. So there you have it. If you master all those concepts, you're going to get power, and more power, right? But what about the control that it takes for all these processes to occur? Well, if it works for the pros, why shouldn't it work for you, right? Well, this is the part where I would ask you the following question. How powerful are the brakes in that powerful machine that is your body? This is where intention becomes extremely important. Are you trying to hit the ball as fast as you can, or should you be trying to hit the ball as fast as you can in the safest possible way for you? My choice is always going to be the latter, with emphasis on the word safety. By the way, make sure you like and subscribe if you're finding this video helpful so far. So I have a few questions that you should be asking yourself before you put your foot on the gas and unleash all that energy that you could get from the kinetic chain. Number one, what injuries do you have? Is there something going on with your back? Because you're going to be rotating. Is there something going on with your hips? Because you're going to be rotating, and if your back is not that strong, your hips should be helping you, right? Is there something going on with your knees? Is there something going on with your shoulder? Are you going to be able to handle all that energy that you are going to be creating from the ground up? The second question is, how strong is your core? And do you know how to use it? By the way, I'm working on a video that's going to show you how monumental is the use of your core in tennis. I've built my entire teaching career on this principle of the core. Unfortunately for me, I understood this as a result of a back injury. I had a herniated disc between L4 and L5 back in 2000 that resulted in surgery. Fortunately for me, I got a second chance at playing tennis right in the middle of my professional career. So I honestly consider that injury a gift of knowledge. So my next question is, how do you make sure that you're actually transferring that energy and not keeping it, or even worse, transferring it to the wrong direction? Well, let's unfold this last question. In order to transfer this energy that I'm creating through the kinetic chain, I have to let go of it once I pass it to the next segment. So my intention here is for all my limbs to work as a team that is looking to pass as much energy through the segments all the way to my hand and ultimately all the way into the ball, right? This is where I tell all my students to look at your hand as the queen that needs to be served and needs to receive all that power. That doesn't mean that your hand is the only thing that you should be using. That means that your whole body is working to bring energy to your hand. You need the entire body so that your hand and your arm can rotate that fast. One of the prime examples of your body transferring energy towards the wrong direction is the uncontrolled rotation that so many players put themselves under when they're rotating their hips, their upper body, and their shoulders. This is one, if not the most critical point when players not only lose power, but most importantly, hurt themselves. So first of all, how would you lose power? That's obvious. In the case of a right-hander player hitting a forehand, he or she would do this by letting the rotational motion continue a little too much towards the left, taking some of your power instead of going from the back, around, and then forward to deliver or transfer the energy. You're supposed to go from the back, around, and eventually when you make contact, you go forward. When people get hung up in the concept that more and bigger is better, that's what we get in trouble. More torque has the potential to put strain on your back, and a faster rotation requires better timing. The purpose of the rotation is to deliver energy, not to spin it around. And by the way, the stroke is not done yet here. You're ultimately passing power to your hand. All the power that you created from pushing against the ground needs to end up in your hand. I created a video earlier explaining how to dominate with the side of your body where the ball is placed. This can help you learn to control your body way better. I'm gonna link it here. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, please make sure you like and subscribe. So now let's talk about injuries. And let's recreate the same example with my friend here who is about to hit a forehand and all of a sudden over-rotated a little bit too much to the left. And I want to bring your attention particularly to your spine and to your right shoulder. So let's look at your spine. We got all kinds of discs and vertebrae, right? Well, awesome for mobility, right? But this is horrible when it comes to over-rotating. Your discs are supposed to cushion your vertebrae. They're not supposed to over-rotate. They're made out of material that looks like a fabric. And when you look at a fabric, the more you move the fibers, the more, guess what? The more you end up creating a hole. You don't ever want a disc to over-rotate. Take it from someone who has had back surgery. I was out for at least a year trying to get back into tennis. All right, so now let's look at the right shoulder. And by the way, I also had an injury, an old injury in my right supraspinatus. So believe me, you don't want to mess up with your shoulders. That shoulder surgery is one of the most difficult surgeries. I've had a lot of friends that have had it, and the recovery is tremendous. All right, so my friend here has gone a little too much to the left, okay? We got the ball here. So what actually happened is he's actually taken his body from behind the ball. So now you are messing up with this part right here with your shoulder, all the muscles and all the ligaments that you have. So now you came from being nicely behind the ball to now leaving your hand with the potential of being almost the only part of your body that's dealing with all that horizontal momentum that's coming from the ball. There's a lot of linear energy that's coming from the ball. I don't know about you, but at this point, I want my arm to not be pulled away from its target when it's trying to hit the ball, and I definitely don't want to overuse the ligaments that keep my arm attached to my shoulder. People hurt themselves in many ways, and this is just an example that unfortunately I see way too often. So what can you do? Well, my best advice is again to think of your intention. In this case, the intention of you using the kinetic chain properly is to deliver energy from the back to the front, from the bottom to the top when you're hitting a serve, and then eventually forward. Also, keep in mind that at the end of the day, we're actually trying to create straight lines towards your target. We're not creating circles. We're rotating with the purpose of going from where you make contact to your target. So you're looking at a straight line. No matter where you are on the court, you're always going to be hitting a straight line. Your body is going to position itself in a way that is going to create a perfect straight line. Tennis is a sport where a lot of things are moving inside our bodies. A lot of parts are moving in order to hit the ball while we're running the majority of the time. The ball is moving as well. And to make it even more complex, the more we move, the more our target moves in reference to us. So here's a couple more tips. Always go from slow to fast so that you can control what's happening during your stroke, and make sure you do a realistic check on what injuries you have to not only protect those areas, but also to know how fast is fast enough for you. A lot of times the problem is not that you don't have enough power. A lot of times the problem is that you're actually losing power. So imagine if you were to do things properly, you could channel all that power and then end up with way more power than you're experiencing right now. Just like in any project you take on, the more you understand the facts that you're dealing with and the ultimate intention that you have, the more successful you're gonna be at achieving that goal. I'm your online tennis coach, and my goal is to bring you tips that are gonna help you play better and longer. Make sure you like and subscribe if you like this video.